Welcome back to the show, folks. This is the Upper Tier Podcast, the football podcast we bring you each and every day. And joining me tonight for the Monday mashup, our resident referee, feeling a little bit under the weather, but shows up still. Marky, how are we?
How's it going, cuz? Thanks for having me back after last week. No complaints from Ofcom or anything like that, no?
No, nothing like that. Views didn't dip, nothing like that, of course. But tonight we're going to have it's a kind of a different Monday mashup because we don't have Premier League football, obviously, to review and stuff like that. So tonight we're going to be talking about the two Irish internationals. We're going to be talking about the situation with Stephen Kenny. We'll have a chat about some other football news articles as well and stuff like that. We'll be chatting Ballon d'Or and how we feel about it and all that kind of thing. And we'll be discussing obviously as well. I took down today a list of the betting for potentially for the next Ireland manager. Now, it sounds like they're gonna persist with this guy till the end of the campaign by the sounds of things, isn't it?
Yeah, only 3 games to go, but sure, yeah, we'll get into that now as well.
But before we get into the show, of course, on the day that's in it, of course, our thoughts and prayers and, of course, condolences as they do every year on 9/11 go across to our brothers and sisters in America, remembering those who lost their lives on that day that sadly changed the world forever, near alone America, but changed the world, changed how we travel, changed how we deal with data, everything changed that day. It was unbelievable. So again, 9/11, thoughts, prayers, condolences go out to those people who still, I'm sure it's still very raw, and on this day every year I'm sure it's really, really tough for those people. So our American brothers and sisters and anyone else who was heavily involved in it, I'm sure there was some Irish. And I've often spoken, Marky, I was over there a few years after, and I attended a fireman's funeral, and it was unbelievable. Yeah, I was over there with the lads, and I got up out of bed and went down to attend it. It was in, I think, St. Patrick's Cathedral over there, just off Times Square. This cathedral is massive. You want to see the doors on it and all. And they did a procession right from Fifth Avenue all the way up with every size fire truck. And then they had this huge fire truck with the coffin on it and stuff like that. And the fire truck was the size of a house nearly. And, well, a house here anyway. And the big coffin was on top of it, so they know how to give their fallen heroes a proper send off.
Yeah, they do it right, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is, as I said, we'll start off with this and we'll see where this one takes us. We always love talking about FAI and stuff like that. We'll go back. We'll talk about talk to me. France 2, Ireland 0. Could have been 5 or 6 to be honest. I think they hit every post and every bar of the goal. But let us know your thoughts on that one first. We'll go through the matches and then we'll give our thoughts on Stephen.
It was always going to be a tough day at the office, France away. You know, Keno, I was on the show a few times last year, texted me before. He said, "What do you think?" And I said, in my heart, wants to say 1-1, try to get a draw. But I said to him, France will win 2-0. That was my prediction before. And I said to him, like I said to you last night, because if we're going to score, it's going to be from a set piece. You know, we weren't going to do anything from open play. It was about kind of just restricting France to, like you said, it could have been 4, 5, 6-0. It was just about restricting them. And to be honest with you, over the 2 games, you look at it, and we'll get into the Holland game now. It was a game against Holland that you think we might pick something up at home. But I could never seen us getting anything against France away.
Yeah, it was kind of like predicting 2-0 as well as modest enough, really, when you think about it, because on another day, France could have had 5, maybe 6, you know, the talent that they have and stuff like that. And I suppose the difficulty in looking at Ireland at the moment, and we'll kind of get into it as well, is the fact that we don't necessarily expect to beat France and the Netherlands because they're so far ranked ahead of us. They've such great technical footballers, and that generally will eventually shine through. And in the past, when we've been successful against these teams, it's kind of been grit and work rate and heart and the crowd and that Lansdowne Aviva crowd. You know,
we've had better players as well in the past against these. We've had 11 starting that play in the Premier League week in, week out, which we don't have now, which obviously we'll get into in a few minutes. So that kind of happens as well. But yeah, listen, we were never going to contain France for 90 minutes. It was never going to be a 0-0 game, and I couldn't have seen us winning it. So it was, to me, like France.
I was talking in our group chat last night, and I was saying if we had got the draw on the France game, the first one, that probably would have propelled us into the Greek game, and we probably would have bet the Greek. And then you'd be looking at bet Greece. Then you would be looking at a very different group table. And it's just as we say, I know everyone says that these fine margins and stuff like that, but at international level, where it is tight in terms of the amount of time you have with these players and stuff like that and all, and it is tough to really get a synergy going, stuff like that. But you would expect after the amount of time he's had and the amount of players he's brought through and everything else, and the way he's mixed it up, he wants to play football, blah 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 blah. He would have enough time now that at this stage we should be saying something. Now, I have to say, if we talk about last night's game, okay, I was disappointed in the result, but I was encouraged by what I seen.
Yeah.
In terms of, if you look, I think I mentioned it to you last night on WhatsApp as well. When you look at the celebration of the Dutch, they knew they were in a game last night, and they knew getting out of there with 3 points, they had done really, really well. But I just think, again, it's the drop off. If you look at the first one for the penalty, that ball, but from Cody Gakpo, to see that ball and to see that. We just don't really have that level of technical, talented player to see that kind of ball, and I thought that was kind of telling,
But now, like Shane Duffy, you look at played I think Dumfries onside for the second goal where he squares it. But not only does he play him onside, he lets Veghorst go across him to get the finish as well. And obviously I think he kept him onside which was the lead up for the first goal as well for the penalty. But, if I want to take any positives out last night, you look at Albane. I thought he had a great game. He just kept going and going and going. Obviously, Armstrong coming on, who I text you about. I'd known him since he was 12, playing with Shamrock Rovers and stuff like that. It was great to see him getting a call up from the 21s and getting about 10, 15 minutes or whatever it was. But, like, when we scored, you had a bit of belief when we went 1-0 up. You're thinking, Jesus, we might get something out of this, And then it's just silly mistakes. And look at it as well, because we started with James McLean is there, and he's playing with Wrexham. We've Duffy there, we Jeff Hendricks still on the bench and stuff like that. There's a lot of deadwood there that whoever comes in is going to need to win out the squad, because we talk about all these younger players coming in and stuff like that, but look at the older players that are there. Like I said, Duffy for me was at fault for the 2 goals. The lead up for the penalty as well. McLean, listen, I know he's like Marmite, you either like him or you don't. He's given all he has for the shirt. I just don't think he has the legs to do anymore, if I'm being honest with you.
Yeah, you can see it in the match last night. I think he was walking off. Was it himself and Duffy, or was it himself and the other lad at the back? Egan had been subbed. Who was the other lad at the back he was walking off? I can't remember.
Who was Nathan Collins was there. Who else?
But he was walking off anyway after the game, and you could see it in him. He was kind of saying, it's like, I've given all that I can give type of thing. You know what I mean? And the thing about it is, he's given great service to the Ireland team through a very, very difficult period as well. And I think, rather than stick around and be vilified over it and stuff like that, where supporters are telling you to get the hell out the door type of thing, you should know yourself when it's time. He's gotten his 100 caps. You know what I mean? So what's he hanging about for, stinking the place out, holding that's back and stuff like that? And again, it comes down to Kenny as well, because it's Kenny who has to make these decisions, and he's kind of talked about this overhauling of the squad and bringing in players that can play football and all that kind of thing. But in reality, he's kind of still held back, with Hendrick hanging around, McLean hanging around, Duffy hanging around. There's other players still hanging around, and I don't know what his plan is for Seamus Coleman, obviously, when he comes back, but I would imagine he probably would have been playing as well.
And another one is Matt. Sorry for cutting across. He goes. Another one's Matt Doherty. He hasn't been the same player since he left Wolves the first time to go to Spurs. I haven't seen it in him. He and that mullet, that's ridiculous. But he looked void of confidence or something like that. Obviously he went on loan to Atletico Madrid. Everyone thought it was this great move and all. Barely seeing any game time. He's come back to Wolves now, and he's going to struggle this season because Wolves are going to struggle, so he will struggle as well. And like I said, he's not the same player that left Wolves the first time to go to Spurs.
Yeah, let's take some comments here anyway. Richie, what's the crack, Niall? How are you, Ian? Round's in. How are you, Round? Good to see you there, my man. Mark, get that Irish top off you. Round, that's for Northern Ireland. That's not for Holland. Ian's back in. What's the story, Mark?
How are you, Ian?
Never forgotten 9/11. Yeah, absolutely. Good game yesterday evening. I'm sure there's still hope for Ireland. We shall say Acers Paul anti-doping Pogba. Yeah, I have a theory on that as well, so we'll talk about it later.
I'll give you my theory before we come on here.
Big show who's ever seen the FAI, yeah, absolutely. And Keith is in. How are you, Keith? Good to see you, man. Noel, I thought Ireland played very well at the start of the first half, but we always have that issue. When we score a goal, we can never seem to hold onto that lead. It's just, I mean, there's not many teams on the planet that can keep that press going that we had going. And we're keeping it going, remember, with players that are not like playing at that kind of level of press and stuff like that on a regular basis, on a weekly basis in their clubs.
That's what I'm
Danny's
saying.
in. Good evening, fellas. How are you?
How are you, Danny? You all right, man?
And we have all these fresh faces playing for Ireland, and we're still losing. Absolutely.
But they're mixed in with the older lads who we were just talking about as well, you know.
Danny, at least you're good at rugby.
That's something, yeah.
Rugby, golf, cricket, and Gaelic games, of course, yeah, absolutely. And darts, not bad at the old darts either.
Yeah.
But yeah, I kind of like. What you're thinking on Kenny at the moment? Look, we know we could dress it up and we can talk about how he's trying to change the culture of the football in the country. We could talk about how, you know, he was kind of parachuted in there on the tail end of mixed situation, that he was doing very well in the under 21s and stuff like that. That he came in, that the step up was tough, this, that, blah, 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 blah. But he did earmark, he did say himself, the marker he laid down was Germany. 2024, is it, or 2024?
Yeah, 2024. Yeah.
2024.
Year, yeah.
So that was the marker he laid down on which you want to be judged on. So this is the qualifying campaign that he wanted to be judged on. And I think, although I thought the boys in the studios and the boys in the media have been going in really, really hard on him now. I think it's a realization where I think he's still trying to pedal the boat in terms of developing the squad and getting this thing together and all. And he's been at it a long time now, and it hasn't come together. What's your thoughts on Stephen Kenny at the moment? I mean, if you were in the hot seat, what do you think? What are you doing?
Well, personally, now I don't think there's any reason why we should get rid of him with 3 games to go and try to get someone else in, because we are playing next month. You know, we're playing at the start of next month, October. He won't last after this campaign. Just when you mentioned Mick McCarthy there, Mick McCarthy had 10 games in his little intern spell before Kenny came in. In those 10 games, he won 5, drew 4, and lost 1 with a worse squad than Kenny has to work with now. We didn't have all these young lads coming through as well. Martin O'Neill had a worse squad and qualified for 2016 Euros with what was an age and coming to the end kind of a squad that he had as well. So to me, it's the manager. I think if we get someone else in, I think they'll get a fine tune out of the lads that are there. And obviously, as you know, because we've seen a lot of these guys firsthand when I was reffing them as youngsters and stuff like that, I know they're good players. And I think with a decent manager, like I know we were talking about the odds there, I mentioned this man's name back in February on the Thursday night show with yourself and Darren. Lee Carsey, I think, be ideal to come in. It'd be trying to get him out of the FA. Obviously, he's working wonders there. Won the Euros under 21 competition there against Spain, 1-0 in the final. Listen, Kenny came in and he did try to play a different brand of football, but you know, when Steve Staunton has a better win percentage rate than him, you know, and we all know how Steve Staunton's time as Ireland manager went. He's 3 years into the job. You know, there's no excuses. Like you said, he earmarked this qualification campaign to get through, and we're in absolute shambles. We won 1 game, which was Gibraltar, and we've lost all the others. Like, it says it all. Even in some of the friendlies that we were playing, you know, so-called lower nations, we struggled. Yeah. We struggled big time. So I do think if someone like a Lee Carsey or Chris Houghton could come in, and I think he will get, like I said, a better tune out of the lads, because I know they have it in them, you know.
Yeah, I think in the case of those 2 boys there, I think it's going to be very difficult to get them out of the current situation that they're in, because they have 2 great numbers there at the moment. Lee's in a great position there where he has an abundance of riches at under 21 level, and he's also the guy to prep the players for senior, so it's a great position to be in. And with Chris as well, his links with Ghana and stuff like that.
Ghana, he's taken over.
And also, you know, that would be, you know, mad to say it, of course, but Ghana's probably as close to his heart as Ireland is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In terms of, you know. But
he's done well there. He's won 2 and drawn 2 in the first and first few
see,
games.
they were very clever in the way they did him because they brought him in first as a technical advisor at the World Cup, didn't they? Yeah. So he was able to get the feel it out and see everything and stuff like that. So he wasn't parachuted in, but certainly a great appointment. We'll go through the list shortly and we'll give our thoughts on it and the betting and stuff like that on it. Certainly it's going to be interesting, but it's a tough. See, the thing about it is as well, and I know we're saying like they only bet Gibraltar, and they should have beaten Greece. We should have enough to beat Greece.
Absolutely.
But the French game, if you think about the first French game, we competed so well against them, played so well, and then
it was one mistake led to their goal. It was literally one mistake we made in the whole game, and it went. And
so as I said,
it was a shot from 25 yards as well, because it was unstoppable, like, you know.
And then you think about last night, for large portions of that game last night as well, we were still pretty competitive. We put it up to them, and they were under pressure, and they knew it. And when we were playing the press and stuff like that, and again, I preface all this again by saying, you know, it's only at the start of this season that we've seen a number of our players now in the Ireland squad actually playing in the Premier League. Yeah. So it's a different level now, you know. So I don't know, maybe with another couple of months under their belt, maybe up as far as Christmas or whatever it is, are we going to see even better players again because they'll push on even better because there's better coaching, it's more, you know, more higher competition, all that kind of stuff. So you're going to play a lot better and stuff like that. But I do take the point. I think when you look over to the sideline, if things aren't going your way like last night and you need a goal, or you're under pressure and you don't want to give up a goal, you're 1-0 up and stuff like that. You look to the sideline to Klopp or Pep or whoever it is. But if you see Stephen Kenny there, I'm not sure if the players are convinced, and I'm worried about their body language, because if you look at the press conference the other day for the Dutch game with Shane Duffy, he was nearly nodding off at it. I think either you or Morris or someone sent me a picture, and Duffy looked like it was the last place he wanted to be. So I don't think the players are convinced themselves of Stephen Kenny. I think they're beginning to believe what they're reading, and they're not immune to what's being written and what's being said and stuff like that. And I do take your point. I think if you get in, and again, it's the difficulty with the FAI as well, because, you know, he could be in there on a certain salary, and I know most people would say, look, he's on 10 grand a week, it's £500,000 a year.
Yeah, that might seem like 540,000 a year.
But that's massive money to me or you or most people in our chat and stuff like that. It's not massive money for an international manager, and that's what you have to compare it to. And I think, irrelevant to what he's on, it doesn't matter how much he's making, you still have to go out there, bring a team together. And I think what happens is, I think he was so tunnel visioned on wanting to produce this footballing culture side of things, and that he forgot that somewhere along the line you have to find a balance, and you have to get results, and you have to put points on the board. You can't just be dogged, put your head to the sand or put your head to the road and go if you don't have all the parts that make up the car the way you want it to run. And I think that's where he kind of fell down a little bit. And it's tough as well, because you look at him there last night as well. He's trying. You know what I mean? You can see it in him that he's trying, but you can just see that that next leap is just a bit beyond him, if you like. You know what I mean? And it's a tough one. So there's no doubt he has to go. It's gonna be if he stays in position, it's gonna be a tough one. I thought they would have made the decision now and maybe put Andrews in charge for the last 3 games or whatever it is.
Well, the Andrews and O'Shea obviously there in the coaching staff, you know. Like I said, I think anyway, he'd be mad to kind of let him go now with 3 games to go. Just give him the 3 games. We've nothing else to, like, they were talking about the playoffs and this, that, and the other. You know, we have to go to Holland away in the last game. We probably won't get anything against Greece either. So let's be fair, like.
Yeah, they were talking. They were waving that little sort of card last night about that we can still qualify for this other thing, and you're there.
That's BS. Like, you know,
forget about it.
Yeah,
you're clutching
the best thing you can do now is probably call up a few other lads now to give them their debuts. I know, like, you've seen the stat. Oh, you gave so many people their debuts. Fans care about wins, points on the board, like you said. They don't care about debuts. You know, and talking about the players as well. If you're an Irish player getting to go to an Irish camp, you're probably getting fed up at this stage, going 3 years of this, and what have we got to show for the end of it?
Yeah, and the thing about the fans that are going there, there's fans there that are going there that are still very, very loyal, probably more so to the team than they are probably to the manager and stuff like that. Because it's a serious wedge now to go to an international game, and you have to buy these double tickets now, don't you? They lock you in and stuff like that now and all. Big up, Uncle. Thanks for joining us tonight. Big up, guys. Keep up the good work. Really appreciate it. Cheers, bud. And Danny's in. When a coach talks losing about goal difference, we all know it's dead man walking. Yeah, absolutely. Stephen talks about losing small to big teams. Yeah, he does. Yeah. Now trouble's in the house. This man has been Kenny out before Kenny was even a thing. I don't think this man even wanted him in the 21s, near alone in the senior team. Anyone who's supporting this nonsense the last few years deserves what you are getting. Absolute, not even getting into it again. Oh, you're cutting out short. Come on, I expected more from you tonight. Now, I'd say Morris is smashing the keyboard up now at the thoughts of Kenny staying in until the end of the campaign. This is going to be tough. Keith said, it's just a pity we couldn't keep the likes of Declan Rice and Jack Grealish along with having Evan Ferguson in the team. I think we would have been in a healthier position. Netherlands aren't special. I wouldn't go as far as to say the Netherlands aren't special now. There's some very, very good footballers in that Netherlands team. And you got to remember, you can't judge them solely on last night. I know we put it up to them pretty well and stuff like that. But you could tell by them as well that they knew they only had to play a certain way to get over the line. They have some serious players in there, and we've seen how good they were in the World Cup as well. The Rice and the Grealish thing, again, similar to Kenny, that boils down to management. People being naive and not doing what they should have done at the right time.
Mr. O'Neill.
Absolutely. And Danny's back in. 50k a month is shit for a manager. I might overtake him in 2 years. Yeah, that's the thing. It's not huge money. Oh, he's back. I knew O'Neill gave more debuts than Kenny. Another myth. Yeah, absolutely.
And Morris, I said O'Neill had a worse squad than Kenny, and he qualified for Euro 2016 as well. And McCarthy had 10 games in charge, and he won 5, drew 4, lost 1 with a similar squad to him. So, you know.
Oh, the Volkswagen minivan has just pulled up outside the gap. All the Kenny out lads are here. I'm expecting the blanket outside the gap in a few minutes. Kenny out. Big up, Del Boy. How you doing, my man? Good to see you.
Del?
Del Boy, I'll tell you how dedicated Del Boy is. Del Boy does he does little watch-alongs and all, and he does match vlogs for the League of Ireland. He goes to watch the games and stuff that, but he also does watch-alongs for the Ireland games. Now that's dedication.
Yeah.
That is dedication.
Del Boy, what's your League of Ireland team? You can drop it in the comments there.
He's I think he's Shells, is he?
Or did he go?
I think he could be he's either Shells or Bowes, I think. I'm not too sure because I know you mentioned I think he's Shells.
You know I'm Shells myself, because I know it should be Rovers with the family connection and all that, but it's Shells all the way.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think we're both in agreement along with the chat here that Morris, Ollie Gunner is my choice, boys. Honestly, now Morris, you need to stop that now.
He was approached by an international team, and it wouldn't surprise me if it was us.
Must have been Ghana, was it? For getting Chris Hughton.
Chris Hughton, yeah.
Wait, I run down through. I'll run down through the betting, right? And I won't necessarily give out the odds, but I'll give it out obviously, right? And let me know who you think, who's in here, who's there. Some we can probably knock off straight away. But we'll begin. Lee Carsley is the favourite at 3-1. I don't see Lee Carsley coming out of the England setup for that Ireland job.
I can't, but I'd love to see it, and maybe the FAI could kind of pull on his heartstrings a bit about his grandmother from County Cork and representing the country and stuff like that. Let's be realistic. Let's take our Irish hats off. Carsley's probably eyeing up Gareth Southgate's job as well. So,
the problem with bringing in a manager at the moment is you're going to have to pull on the wallet strings.
Yeah,
and I'm kind of thinking Carsley's probably on more than 550 in his current position.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Anyway,
you would assume so. You'd assume so. All right, but like I said, he's just after winning the European Under-21 Championship, so they won't let go of him very easily.
Yeah, Chris Hughton is number 2 with 11-2.
So they're the two boys I'd mentioned there.
Yeah, I think Chris Hughton would be a tough one. Third favourite is Roy Keane at 13-2. I don't see that happening.
No.
Couldn't see.
Dazzler probably wants it to happen because you know how he's a big Roy Keane fan.
Oh, absolutely. Acers is in. I love this one. Thank Christ, real football back for another 4 weeks.
Too right, Acers. Too right, man.
Neil Lennon, 8-1.
No.
Robbie Keane at 10-1. You ain't getting Robbie Keane. Where's Robbie? Saudi Arabia or Dubai or something, is it?
Yeah, but he hasn't got. He hasn't. He was out in the AUL on Saturday watching his young lad play for Rovers anyway, but he hasn't got enough experience for me. You talk about Chris Hughton managing Newcastle, Spurs, Brighton, Forest, and then you're throwing Robbie Keane in there, who's coached for Rovers underage, and now he's over.
And not only that, Chris Hughton with a level of success in coaching as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because Chris Hughton laid a lot of their foundation that we now see at Brighton.
Yeah. Well, listen, I'd have Damien Duff in there ahead of Robbie Keane anyway, because what Duffer's doing with Shells. If it was to be that, Robbie Duffer.
Robbie Keane and Duffer, no thanks. I don't think Duffer would get in after his little spat with the FAI, would he? I think he probably struggled to get back in. Keith Andrews 12-1.
No. He's involved in the setup now, and him and O'Shea and all are both involved in the setup now. I wouldn't have them though.
How much influence do you think they have in the setup? I mean, obviously they've been brought in there, probably to give that feel-good factor to the squad, I would say, plus experience, because there would be a level of respect for both boys.
I don't know. I think Andrews would have more influence than O'Shea, because obviously O'Shea's only after coming in from Stoke after being a coach at Stoke, so Andrews has been with him for a while. But yeah, I wouldn't have
how much influence do you think both boys would have on Kenny? Or would Kenny's kind of sailing this ship on his own, do you reckon?
I'd reckon it's Kenny, and they're just kind of implementing his training styles and looking after the lads. But yeah, I wouldn't choose either of them. If you were smart, you might keep one or two of them on. Like if you're a new manager coming in, because they know what the FAI is about, they know the lads and stuff like that. But I wouldn't have them in there in charge.
No problem. Next up, you've Solskjaer in there, and then Big Mick. 14 and 16-1, Mick McCarthy.
Mick McCarthy. Jesus, well, imagine giving Mick the last 3 games to see what you could do. He probably get a few points, maybe 7 from 9 or something like that.
Don't let the nose ring fool you. Still the same person. Keith Flint had been an influence on me back in the day. Prodigy for a starter. Love it. Random, love it. Morris Blaze
smack my bitch up by the Prodigy.
Morris Blaze sacked them all. He wants the ball boys gone. He wants the catering staff, everyone. He wants them all gone. Clear out. Massive clear out. Acers is in. Looking forward to watching Brighton beaten and Evan Ferguson scoring at Old Trafford. Is Evan due to be back for that game, I wonder?
Yeah,
Big Sam.
Here he is.
Sam Allardyce 33-1. Is that Big Sam?
Well, he got plenty of experience at the England setup, didn't he?
See, I'm looking at a lot of these names here, and I'm looking at them, and then I'm going FAI, these names, and the money that's involved. And I'm thinking, look at what Leeds paid Sam Allardyce for, 4 games, 5 games?
Yeah,
and I'm thinking, how would the FAI afford Sam Allardyce in any discuss good? Rafa Benitez is next on the list. That ain't going to happen.
No.
Sean Dyche is in there. Scott Brown. Steve Staunton.
Stephen Bradley on the list now, Rovers manager.
Stephen Bradley is on the list. Yeah, he's 50-1, just under Rafa. Stephen Bradley.
Yeah.
But do you think they'd go with another League of Ireland situation?
I don't know. He's been doing good things with Rovers, but obviously Rovers are the only full-time professional team in the country, so hence the reason they're going for their 4th. Is it the 4th or 5th trophy now in a row?
Yeah, I think in order to do that, I think they'd want to see him in the 21s first to see what he does, like what they did with Kenny, before they'd even consider it. Because the next appointment's going to be huge in terms of them and hot water and what money they have as well. And it rounds out with Dean Smith at the end at 80-1.
Dean Smith, oh my god!
So there you go. That's it.
It's like some of the names on that list. It's like we're like in a relegation battle at the bottom of the Premier League. Some of those names, isn't it? Like,
which is kind of, we are in a relegation battle at the international level.
Yeah, but Jesus Christ, man!
And the funny thing about it, even the kind of money that a Dean Smith would want, I don't think the FAI financially is in that ballpark. I just don't think they have it.
No. If it's again, it goes back to the FAI of old, champagne football, all that. We're still, trying to get over their mistakes, and financially and otherwise, we just can't do it. We can't compete. You look at the Northern Ireland and all, Northern Ireland and Wales and stuff like that. They used to be way behind us. Look at them now, like.
Absolutely, and it's amazing, and it just, you think about it, it can be done in a very quick time frame if you're out there with the right scouting and the right coaching and stuff like that. You know, when you if you had a good coach in there, the likes of, say, an Eddie Howe, who was a real good man coaching kind of thing and stuff like that. That kind of thing would make a huge difference there to some of that kind of sort of harnessed talent, if you like, and stuff like that. Like you look at Benny last night with the right coaching and stuff like that. Okay, there was no lack of endeavor and stuff like that, but that coaching just to do the right thing in the final stage and stuff like that. Like when you go past the player, whip the ball in early. You don't necessarily have to play it off a player and keep on winning corners. Get the ball into the box and danger area. Their keeper last night was atrocious. Absolutely atrocious, and we just didn't test him enough. Yeah, Allardyce, I think you're right, Danny, that the mystique of Sam Allardyce at this stage, I think, is gone, isn't it? He's a media joke. Absolutely.
He is 100%, Danny. 100%.
FAI are hiring London staff, our backroom team.
Free breakfast roll every win.
Morris is in. Some of that list is like being in the club at 2 a.m. and you're left with all the ugly ones about. Don't want to go home empty-handed.
Go on the Eagles. He'll be
last chance to learn. I think Landis would close under Kenny. He would try to be expansive and use gluten-free ingredients and charge a high price while delivering a shit service.
Spot on, Morris. Couldn't have said it better myself.
Love it, Morris. Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so I think for the moment, I think we park international football because I think it's great, even with the chat saying that it is great that football's on the way back. We have a few days to go, but it's the one thing I found about this one as well. I think because we had a later game in the international break, it feels like it's gone in quicker. It doesn't feel like it's been 2 weeks.
Yeah. And do you know what, as well, as a United fan, you sometimes look forward to an international break because you don't have to watch that crap. And then I had the France and Holland game to endure.
How many times did I say it last season when I was following Liverpool going, geez, I'd love an international break. Unbelievable. Right, let's get into talking some serious items here. We'll start with something nice, the Ballon d'Or. Give me your thoughts on it. I mean, how do you feel about this? It seems to be floating somewhere between prestigious and patronising, to be honest. How do you feel about it as, I mean, the ceremony is all, it's like those European Cup draws and stuff like that, isn't it? It's a lot of palaver over nothing. You could do it in the garden shed with a webcam, really, How do you feel about the Ballon d'Or? What do you think about it?
I don't know what you think, but obviously years ago, I think there was a more prestige about it, wasn't there? I know what you're saying about it's like when they do the cup draws and all now. It says 12. It starts at 12 o'clock, but the actual draw won't start till like 10 to 1 or something with all the crap that goes on.
Oh, they explain to you what a round ball is, and
yeah.
And then they still find a way to make a bags of it as well.
Exactly, but I don't know. It's not what it used to be for me. Obviously, you're so used to seeing Ronaldo and Messi, either one of them getting it, then someone else might come along.
Don't worry, Morris. Morris. It's coming. It's coming.
But yeah, for me, I'd say Messi this year. Obviously, Haaland won the treble and stuff like that, and what he's doing with City. But I'd say this could be Messi's last one.
How do you feel about it though? I mean, if you're awarding it, let's say you're the only journalist in the room and you're awarding it, is his achievement in winning the World Cup, and I know he did other stuff in the season as well, it's not just winning the World Cup, and obviously him winning the World Cup, and we all felt that the romance, the emotion of it and all that kind of stuff, and I mean, he's won a whole clatter of them. I mean, basically himself and Ronaldo have nearly shared them over the last 20 years, if you like. Is his achievement bigger than Haaland's achievement between all the records that he broke, landing the treble, first Champions League for Man City? Now, Darren's argument on this as well, and I've heard Darren say before as well, Darren believes Rodri is a bigger player at City than what Haaland is. And I'm sure if Darren came on, Darren might be of the opinion that maybe he'd have Rodri winning the Ballon d'Or maybe before Haaland, but I know he likes goal scorers and stuff like that as well. So, what you thinking on it? You think Messi and it's his last one? Is that the way it should be because it's his last one and they want to?
No, yeah. I, to be honest with you, I don't necessarily want it to be Messi, but I know it will be because it's kind of like the perfect ending to the story, so to speak. You know, he won the World Cup, Ballon d'Or. Obviously, Messi or Haaland done the treble with City, banging in hat tricks for fun. You could say though, you know, a lot of his goals, you know. The other City players do a lot more work than he does. He just kind of, you know, takes the headlines and the limelight. But to me, if you're going based on the season, you'd look at Haaland and say yes. But I just think from another perspective, not just Messi's season and his year and the World Cup, I just, where he's gone now to, as we know, go to retire basically over in America, live in his penthouse apartment in Miami and stuff like that. I just think this is the story ending for him that he is going to get it. I don't necessarily think he deserves it, but I just feel he will get it.
So your feeling is Messi will get it. My feeling as well is that Messi will get it. I think what they do, as you said, I think they'll look at the romance of the whole story. And I think that's what will overshadow Haaland. And I think Haaland's going to be very disappointed. I listened to Craig Burley the other night on ESPN, and he said if Haaland doesn't get the Ballon d'Or, he should boycott the ceremony and the prize forever.
Well, in fairness, he is going to win one sooner rather than later. You know, let's be honest. The Ronaldos and the Messis are coming to the end of their career. It's going to be about himself and Mbappe now, I think, for the next probably 10 years or whatever, unless someone else comes in before that. So yeah, I just think Haaland will definitely win one very soon, but I just think this year be Messi.
Yeah, I suppose the feeling would be getting the prize when everyone else is kind of retired is different than getting the prize when you feel you should.
Yeah.
You know, because there's no doubt. I know what you're saying, that the team works so hard for him and they do, but I mean, that Barcelona team worked so hard for Messi as well. You know what I mean? He wasn't on his own. Now I know he has scored some incredible solo goals as well. There's no look at what he's doing in the MLS. It's scandalous, really. You know, you'd ask yourself why did he go over? You know what I mean? And it's, you know, to still have that ability and still have that to offer. It's crazy that he's over there plying his trade. And surprising that he didn't go to Saudi, like, you know, and went there. Like.
David Beckham must have sold them something big, like, you know. You see all the celebrities going to the games. You see that last week when they were playing LA, the list and names of celebrities, like, it was just unbelievable. But the exposure he's given, like, I was up at I had George at the Lucan United Academy. They're starting off last Saturday morning, and I counted there was 13 kids in either the pink or the black Inter Miami jerseys with Messi 10 on the back. It's unbelievable.
Did you see the ticket price has gone from $30 to $400?
Crazy,
that's crazy, isn't it?
Imagine when
Darren was over in Boston, I think they were playing up there against one of the teams, against New England or something. And Darren was going to go to the game, and when he looked at it prior to Messi signing, the tickets were $30. And when Messi signed, he looked again, the tickets were $425. Exact same ticket. Ticket.
Imagine if he wins the Ballon d'Or, the game that he comes back to the parade before the match, what the ticket prices are going to be like. It's crazy.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I suppose, like I said, Haaland will probably win it next year, the year after, whatever. But I just, like I said, it's a fairy tale ending to what has been a fantastic career for him so far.
Yeah, we'll get into Anthony now and Greenwood and Sancho and Ten Hag and all that shortly. Don't worry. Wait, Morris.
My battery's gone, cause I'm going to leave now.
Ian wants to know, Morris, what happened to the porn ladies on your podcast? He's loading them up in. He's going to have one big month of it. I gave up on the Ballon d'Or. He's in. I think Haaland deserves to win it, but you know Messi is going to win it just because he won the World Cup. Yeah, so I've seen being advertised. Ace is saying Sancho was told Ten Hag that he wants to leave United on loan in January. I think they'll want him out the door. I don't think
there's talks of him going back to Dortmund on a loan.
saying that, yeah. Haaland was not top of the poster in finals. Yeah, absolutely. Facts, Hogan, that garden midget gonna win. What's the crack, Niall? How are you, Henry? Good to see you. Hi to your guest as well, Mark. Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, Henry, all right, buddy?
Messi has won the Grand Slams of trophies in his career, yeah, which that's no surprise. He's probably done it multiple times. Just come in to give you a like. Absolutely, Henry. Really appreciate it. Big up chat. Big up, Henry. And Acers. Haaland knows that Norway will never win a Euros and a World Cup. I wouldn't say never win a Euros.
Anything can happen
I
in
wouldn't
the
be too
Euros,
sure
yeah.
about that. We've seen it before. We've seen it with Denmark winning it as well.
Greece as well. Remember Greece won it in Portugal's backyard?
Yeah, absolutely. Now we spoke about the Saudi Pro League, or I did on shows a while ago. People were telling me that no one will be interested in it, that you get no coverage, no one will care. All of a sudden, there's YouTube channels doing watch-alongs to games. There's
You're doing the
results.
Saudi Sunday show now, aren't you?
The results are coming through. But Neymar has come out firing shots straight away, which is not surprising for Neymar anyway. This is what he does. And he says that the Saudi Pro League is better than the French League. Interesting. How do you think this is all going to evolve? This is going to grow, isn't it? This is a snowball rolling down a mountain, really, isn't it? And it's just gathering pace. And
Absolutely.
they're obviously going to bring in more and more talent. But certainly I still keep an eye, obviously, when obviously Jordan went out there and Bobby and Fabinho and all these players go out there. Obviously, I keep an eye on what they're doing because I still have an interest in next players, as we all do. Yeah. But what you're thinking on it? Could you see this be within 3 to 5 years a very realistic thing where we'll be sitting around watching potentially Saudi games or watching games, Saudi teams potentially in the Champions League or whatever format it takes by that stage and stuff?
It reminds me of years ago, 2003, Abramovich took over Chelsea. I remember being on holidays and I'd buy the paper every morning just to see who Chelsea had signed. Remember that summer
Daily
they just
Sport.
bought? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And now you're picking up and going on the internet to see who's gone to Saudi Arabia. It's crazy. I do listen with players going there and getting commercialized. I think it's going to just grow and grow. I don't want to see it in any Saudi teams in the Champions League. That for me, that's a no-go. I just think that's a whole different kettle of fish, like, you know. But I can't see, like, at the start I was like, no. When Ronaldo first signed, I was like, gee, well, no one's going to be watching that league. But now, as the names go, you're going tick, 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 tick. You're going, I have a bit of interest there now. I might switch over and see what's happening over there, you know. But like I said, I don't like the thought of them coming into the Champions League or anything. I don't know how you feel or the lads in the chat feel, but I just can't.
Tell us why you wouldn't want it, because obviously these things grow and expand. We've seen the emergence of the African nations over the last decade and the brilliant players they produced and the AFCON and how well these African teams have done in the World Cup and stuff like that. And I wouldn't be against, like, you know, potentially if the league there was developed a certain way as well as if a team came in. I wouldn't be too au fait to it because I wouldn't be against it because I think everything evolves. And I think the days of UEFA having the stranglehold on European football and stuff like that, I think those days are kind of numbered at this stage. And I think with the way they're giving power back to these regional federations and stuff like that, you can see, I think it's only a matter of time, and I think
it will be. But
one part of me, it killed me as well. Remember, because I remember the old European Cup and the knockout style, the knockout stuff, and I loved that. So the Champions League, I was dead against it at the time. Now I embrace it. But what is it that you wouldn't like to see? I mean, if they have the likes of Mahrez there and players like that playing in teams, really exciting and stuff like that. Yeah, well, yeah, absolutely.
My man.
What is it you wouldn't want to see?
It's not that. It's just I'm a creature of habit, you know, that sort of way. I'm not too fond of change. Obviously, I don't want it to happen, but I can't see it happening because if you're one of the Saudi teams and you're the federation in Saudi Arabia offering UEFA a good amount of money to get teams in, and let's not forget the Champions League isn't what it used to be. the group stages aren't great. It only really gets interesting in the last 16, I think. I don't know how the lads feel, but remember it used to be great on ITV on a Wednesday night, sitting down watching the big, United against Barca and stuff like that. Mark Hughes and you had Hadji playing and Stoichkov and this, that, and the other. It used to be great, but now the group stages are just absolutely horrible to watch sometimes, aren't they?
See, they offered us that with the Super League and we turned it down.
I know.
See, they offered us like Man United versus Juve every third week, and Man United versus Bayern, and Liverpool versus PSG, and they offered it. We all said no, we don't want that. We want to be Maccabi Tel Aviv and all. That's what we want. I take it this season. Of course.
Thursday night TV. No, but like I said, I'm just a creature of habit. I wouldn't like to. I know it will happen, but I just. Like you said, like you with the Champions League, you end up embracing these things, don't you? But it's just the thought of it that really kind of irritates me.
Yeah, absolutely. Danny Neymar was dead already when he left Barca for PSG. A pussy rolling in the floor when contact, and people rate that scum. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Danny, I thought you were going to mention as well the fact that he takes his monthly sabbatical in January off to Brazil for the sister's birthday. There, I mentioned as well. He says Mo Salah signs for Saudi Arabia League will be massive takeoff. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
January.
Yeah, absolutely. Or January or June, depending on whether you want 200 million, 150 million, or 100 million.
Yeah.
Keith's in. Question: if the Saudis get into the Champions League, won't they have to agree to FFP? What's that? And that will make it harder for them to get players in the door. It won't, because they'll just start offering players 20-year contracts. It doesn't matter, you know what I mean? It's just
look at Chelsea, look at City. They all managed to find loopholes around the situation, so I can't see why the Saudis won't have good.
City, in fairness, have done well this year. I don't know if you looked at their situation. I think they're nearly.
I have actually. Yeah.
Because of
the first win though, and how long?
Yeah, true. Yeah,
so
Danny's in. Agreeing with Hadji and Stoichkov were proper midfielders. Yeah, absolutely.
That's from the Champions League. I remember my dad used to get the super crisps out of the off license across from the goat there. We used to sit down. Bob Wilson be presenting and just man, it used to be class.
No, yeah, we were busy playing Alaves. That's all I'll say. Saudi are already in the Champions League with Newcastle United.
Yeah.
When they start transferring these players, Acers, on free loans and all, and you're getting Neymar playing for Newcastle on a free and stuff like that. It's all coming. Facts, Niall, Neymar always injured late winter, so he can have his vacation. Biggest fraud of football, yeah, absolutely. Del Boy, do any of the Saudis have any Irish grannies? See, it's not the Saudi players that you want coming in. It's the players that take them from the Prem and everything, and from Europe. They're the ones you want coming in. And unfortunately, none of them have Irish grannies. So doesn't every player have an Irish granny somewhere anyway? Sure.
Harvey Barnes.
Can't imagine Mo Salah turning down a nice cup of Lions tea or something like that, or Barry's tea or whatever. But who knows? Yeah, so I just wanted to get your thoughts on that. But it was interesting, Neymar coming out like that. I don't think I read a story there the other day. The ultimate fan in my eyes. This has to be the ultimate fan. Did you see this West Ham fan? He traveled 4,000 miles.
Yeah.
Went to Ghana. 4,000 miles he traveled to watch Kudus play for Ghana in the AFCON qualifiers. Now that is dedication, isn't it?
Yeah.
That is.
See the picture of the two of them in the hotel, in the lobby.
Class.
I know, fair play to him.
Yeah, absolutely.
His missus must be a melt if he's doing that on international break.
Yeah, Del Boy, all grannies are on Moore Street market stalls. Jesus.
But you want to see the clientele down on Moore Street nowadays, man. They're not Irish elms, all right.
No, yeah. More fans of Kudus.
Oh, yes.
Now, what else I want to talk about? We'll talk about Van Dijk. Van Dijk receiving this extra game ban and £100,000 fine for using, I think, what did they describe as foul and abusive language. How do you feel about this? I know you're very strong in terms of the respect for referees with your refereeing background and stuff like that, but how do you feel about, they've kind of set a precedent again here now, haven't they? So if anyone now gets sent off, if they turn or get abusive or they have something to say to the ref, are they all getting a game now on $100,000 fine? Or what way does it work?
I think, in fairness, like this should have been brought in years and years ago. I used to sit there and watch players shouting at the referees, and I'm like, why isn't he giving them a caution for foul and abusive language towards a referee? I used to do it. I used to do it all the time, and you're setting precedents then, because the young lads. I'd always go to the captain, and I'd say, listen, have a word with him. If he keeps at it, I'm going to book him. And if I book him, you know why I'm booking him then, that sort of way. Because like I said here before, the lads out there that are 16, 17 are more likely going to listen to their teammate, their captain, than they are me. But like the abuse that some of the referees get, especially at Premier League, like they're afraid of miking up referees. And was it the early 90s they mic'd up the referee for the Arsenal and Watford game or something like that? And the language on it, they couldn't put it out on telly, like the absolute language. So, listen, they are using him as a kind of a spearhead, saying, right, listen, if you're going to do it. But again, listen, it depends. It's like everything. It depends on the referee in charge on the day, if they're willing to take it or not, Some referees I know have a more of a kind of a more patience than others, and will be like, just wave him away, right, whatever. But then others want to put a marker down, caution him straight away, and if he keeps at it, then send him off, But because I don't know how you feel or the lads in the chat feel. For me personally, the kids that we referee at the weekends watch Match of the Day, they watch Sky Sports News, they have live score there getting the videos. They try to imitate. Exactly. They try to imitate and do what the players are doing on a Saturday and Sunday in the Premier League. So if you go to the park then on a Saturday or Sunday morning the next week, it doesn't matter if it's foul and abusive language towards a referee, step overs, or different celebrations they've seen. They're going to try to do it. They're going to try to repeat it. So that's why I'm glad the FA are stepping in and doing this now.
Yeah, I don't necessarily have an issue with it, so long as this is the benchmark going forward. And that if this happens in the future, be it a United player or Chelsea or Arsenal, whoever it is, Newcastle, whoever it is, if they turn around and they abuse the ref after getting sent off, then straight away they know there's another game coming and $100,000 fine. And if that's the benchmark that they've set, so long as they don't roll back on it and go, well, okay, and this inconsistency about, as you said, one ref might take it a different way to another ref. If they're going to set it, it's consistency is what we want in these kind of things. And if that's the consistency that they want, and if Van Dijk has to pay the price for a game and $100,000 fine, that's fine, so long as that's it for everyone else then going forward. And I think that's really, really important on it. That was my thinking on it. Acers is obviously a fan of the Roma chipper on Wexford Street, probably doing mean fresh cod and chips, I'd imagine. He was talking about what Morris was talking about, the Roma fans on Moore Street. Eno's not really a person for change, but then again, don't want to start getting into politics. If I do start, I'll only start showing my age. Sorry, fellas, just have to be old school. Nothing wrong with being old school at all.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, let's talk about United. This is where your battery goes.
Where do we begin?
There's no point in probably talking about anything in isolation, because it's all kind of linked somewhat in terms of the club. We've got the situation obviously with Ten Hag, who comes out, and I've said it before as well, and I even said it last season. I think when he's asked the question, I think he likes answering with an essay. I think he likes giving you all the detail instead of just giving you a one-liner and move on. And I don't think he's wrapped his head yet around the British media and the broadcasting and how they jump on these things and they love it and stuff like that. Then we had obviously Sancho firing back, saying that he had trained well and stuff like that and all. And he put his post out there, his statement, which as far as I know up till now, he still has pinned at the top of his social media, his statement, what he said and stuff like that, which will kind of lead you to believe that he's sincere about what he's saying in terms of he's not trying to spoof anyone. He obviously, from that point of view, in his mind, he did train well. He did have a good week's training. And I'm wondering if the Ten Hag situation, I wonder is a little bit of it potentially maybe just You know, he was obviously very hyped up at that press conference after the Arsenal game. He was paid off by some of the decisions, even though I think most of the decisions they got them right. But when you've lost the game, you're a little bit sort of
you're gonna pick on it, something like
yeah. And I just think the additional information that he gave about Sancho, you know, whereas if you look at last season, he was so supportive of the lad, giving 3 months off to go and deal with some fitness and mental health stuff and all that kind of stuff. Which means if he did that, he firmly believes that there's a player there and that there's a player he can get to do something for him there and stuff like that. All of a sudden, this time it went the other way now, where he kind of somewhat, I won't say throw him under the bus. I just think he was honest in what he was asked. Where do you lie at the moment, obviously? And I mean, obviously the Anthony stuff has added to the situation now because obviously similar players, similar position, and where you've gone into the season with an abundance of riches in that position. Now you're starting to look very light, you know. Give me your thoughts, first of all, Ten Hag and Sancho, and then we'll link it into Anthony.
Well, I just want to say, if I'm the Manchester United PR officer, I'm in need of a much holiday, like, you know. Now, the Sancho situation is, I was explaining this the other day. I read that he said he thought he trained well and stuff like that. I remember going out years ago playing for Mount Marion and Wayside and thinking I had a great game, and then coming off and my dad would be like, "You were brutal today, what's going on?" And in your head, you're like, "I actually thought I'd done well." So to me, it's a bit of that, you know, that sort of way that, like we spoke about here last week when Morris was on, his attitude for training has been questioned before. You know, with the England setup, like I said a few years ago, it was
Keith is saying the biggest problem is the referees in the Premier League. You swear they got their license in a Tesco raffle. Mark has said that before, that the quality and the level and the selection over there is not what it should be.
You just
big up, Danny. Have a good evening, everyone. Love the stream, Noel. Cheers, Danny. Thanks for joining.
Cheers, Danny. But yeah, like I said, there has to be more to the story than this. Ten Hag obviously gave him the time off last year to get things sorted. He's come back. I watched him in pre-season a few times. I thought he did all right. He can seem lazy at times. I don't know what he was like with Dortmund because I didn't watch him week in, week out, but sometimes he can seem quite lazy. We talked about when he came in, he was being played in the wrong position. Then he was playing the right position and he still wasn't happy for some reason. Kind of like Rashford when he's not playing on the left. But like, there's no smoke without fire. Like, and I do believe Ten Hag has the club and the morale and everything, and he's trying to do his best with that. I know what you're saying about the media side of things because he can be quite different to Jose and stuff like that when you're seeing Jose after United games. But I just think Sancho needs to either be sold or go on loan and come back. But I don't know about the loan because if the feelings are around the club, reading a few stories, Ten Hag just doesn't want him at the club at all. If Ten Hag is in charge, Sancho's not getting a look in. So I just think with everything going on, there's talk of Palestri going to be involved on the right-hand side and this, that and the other. I could have asked me mate Sharpie from last week, but he'd probably get a game now at this stage, to be honest with you. But yeah, now listen, there's big things happening there, and obviously we'll talk about Anthony now in a second as well. I just think Ten Hag has a big job here this season, especially with some of the injuries and stuff like, and to have a headache like Sancho. Yeah, no, I know Ten Hag didn't call him that, but a situation like that, you need to get rid of it.
Yeah, I think you're coming into a massive week as well. You have a big game against Brighton at the weekend, and then I think you have Bayern Munich next week as well, haven't you? So you have two massive games coming up, and it's a difficult one because on one hand with the Anthony situation and how that's all evolved, and you know, we won't say suspended because it's in between. People are making an assumption on that whether he was suspended by the club or not. No, but either way, it doesn't matter. He's not going to be there or available for selection. So that's created a problem. So then the question is where you need a Jadon Sancho as opposed to, and I don't know, I like the boy Palestri. I think he's done well when he's come in and stuff like that. He has, but whether you drop him into that melting pot of a really tough Prem game against Brighton and then into that Bayern Munich game in the Champions League, which is going to be pivotal because you always want to get off to a reasonably solid start. Otherwise, you drop behind and stuff like that in a difficult group. And I just think it's difficult as well for United as well. Sometimes it's very hard to judge the players in terms of, because some of them will embrace it and they'll look really, really good. But it's been a turbulent time for United as a club. All the takeover crap in the background, the Glazer stuff. Obviously, Ten Hag going in there was promised an awful lot of stuff. Obviously, they couldn't deliver on that. You had issues with financial fair play. You're picking up your third or fourth choice, really. You're not getting in the players you were looking to sign. So it's difficult for him as well. He was kind of sold a kind of a different deal, I'm sure, when he took the job. And obviously, the key players like Jadon Sancho that, obviously haven't performed at times to the level or near the level you would expect them, or near their German Bundesliga level anyway. But we've seen that with a lot of players that come in from the Bundesliga. Apart from Haaland, they don't. We've seen it with Kai Havertz, we've seen it with Timo Werner, we've seen it with a number of these players, that it doesn't necessarily translate into the Premier League. And of course, when you get a big money move as well, and you put on that United shirt, that weighs heavy on players. It's not easy. There's a much bigger expectation. You playing for Dortmund and you playing for Man United, in terms of the spotlight, the expectation, the value, the money, the contract, all that other stuff that goes with a sponsorship, everything else and all. The demands on your personal time is much greater.
Yeah.
But obviously affected the kid last year, because he had to go off for 3 months and kind of, go find himself again, maybe have that Jesus moment, whatever you want to call it, and stuff like that. And I just think it's a difficult situation for Ten Hag to be in, because obviously Sancho is sticking by his guns. He has the post pinned up there. So the minute you want any of his social medias, boom, this is the statement you say, I'm not a scapegoat. This is not true. Basically, people are telling lies, and that I did train well and stuff like that. Now, as you said, there's levels of well and what expectation is and stuff like that. Could you see a situation here where they sit down and have a chat, and he puts him back in the side, and it motivates him to show him? Or do you just see him going, he's literally fifth choice now, forget about it?
Yeah, I can see him going. I think it's gone too far now, especially like you said with the social media posts as well. Like, we've seen world class players throughout the years. If a manager comes in and they don't get along with them, or they don't want to play for them, that's it. Remember Ruud Gullit coming into Newcastle, when Shearer was in his pomp, best striker in the league. No, they didn't get on, and it went downhill. And in those situations, it's either he goes or I go. I can't see Ten Hag going, so that only means one thing. And it's unfortunate with the injuries and what's going on off the pitch as well, because we, like you said, we do need someone like that. But I'd say it would take something drastic for him and Ten Hag to sit down and get through this and have him back in the squad in the next while.
Yeah, the managing of it is going to be difficult as well, isn't it? Because we know if these players are hanging around the squad, it can spread like a cancer through it and stuff like that. And then ultimately, managers do lose their jobs and players stay, because this is what happens. Because players don't get sacked, managers get sacked.
No. Yeah, exactly.
Where we see Acers is in here, he's talking about Fridge Fraser Maguire stealing a living. I just want to make a point on that. I did a video on this the other day. Martin Keown was on TalkSport the other day, and I know Martin has some interesting thoughts and ideas and all, and who are we to question with what he achieved in his career? Fabulous footballer. But he has it in his mind that he feels that he thinks Maguire is still a very good player. We've seen him putting in some really good performances for England and stuff like that. And he believes that Maguire may not necessarily be either the problem or the only problem at United. And he feels that the problem may be in midfield, and that maybe Maguire is a better player. Now, the eye test would say to us, we've seen Maguire on the pitch make absolute howlers and cost United games. There's no doubt about that. And that's nothing to do with Bruno Fernandes or Casemiro or whoever's in there and stuff like that. No. But is there any validity to that? What do you make? How come Maguire can go out in an England jersey, probably surrounded by slightly better quality players, not necessarily Casemiro, but slightly quality better players? Because you look at that England squad and England team, it's just full of talent and stuff like that. And he obviously has, and I mean, even looking at the game the other night, his first 4 touches were off. He looked really, really rusty because he hadn't been playing.
Yeah.
But how do you figure out the difference between Maguire England, Maguire United?
Obviously, they play in a different system as well. We play a lot of time. They play the back five, the 3 centre halves. He usually plays on the left hand side of that, where we're playing with the 4 at the back for United. I can't remember who I was speaking to the other day about this. Like, when it was him and Lindelof, they were both getting exposed so much. Like, when he's playing with England. He has the likes of John Stones and all beside him and stuff like that as well. Listen, I think if he went on, he'd probably do a job for someone else. No, like it's one of those things when a player leaves United, they haven't been doing well, and then all of a sudden they like look at Jesse Lingard when he went on loan to West Ham that time. He looked unbelievable, and then he just there's a lack of confidence there. I don't know how he keeps how Gareth Southgate keeps starting for England. Like everyone's saying like he's the teacher's pet and stuff like this, but he doesn't make half as much mistakes for England as he did for United. But I just think when he does make a mistake, it's highlighted more because he is Harry Maguire, that sort of way.
Yeah. I don't know. I just find it weird, that on one hand he can go out for England. Southgate seems to like him and want him as his player.
Yeah.
And I don't know whether that's just maybe it's a kind of a psychological thing where Southgate makes him feel wanted and a part of it and a big deal and stuff like that. Whereas United, he's just vilified as that guy and stuff like that. Maybe that's it. So when he goes out for United, it's just like, here we go again, and it's
the abuse
out for England. He's on it,
Yeah, the abuse he gets off the United fans as well. Down the Aviva, anytime he touched the ball, he was getting booed. And it was now there was certain sections were trying to clap but the boos were so loud, and obviously he's on the pitch and that hurts his confidence as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, we can feel it even watching the matches, even if we're not in the stadium. When he comes on, there's a nervous energy that enters the fray straight away. You know what I mean? It's nearly like they're nearly coughing up a goal because this guy's coming on and stuff like that. But it's just it's such a dynamic between his games for England and stuff like that and his games for United. So
United as well.
Keith's in. Any worries on Ten Hag and stuff like that? If the season goes a bit pear-shaped, they drop out of the top four, don't pick up a trophy and like that? I don't think so. I think
no.
I think United. The one thing about United, they're not like Chelsea. They're not reactionary. United will stick with managers until it gets really bad and really toxic or whatever it is. And
he has a plan. He has a plan in his head, and I can't see that happening now.
Yeah, I mean, he said it's been so difficult for him to bring in the players he wants and absolutely execute the plan. So you can't really just lay it at his door. I know he has to manage the squad that he's given, but I mean, you look at last year, bringing in Weghorst in January and stuff like that was a kicker. You look at this year, you're looking at Kim Min-jae and various players like that you want in, and then you're butchering for a loan signing for Reguilon on the last day of the window and all. It's just, you know what I mean? You can't park that at his door, you know what I mean? He's not sitting around having conversations about bringing in Reguilon or anything like that. So, and then you've been battered with injuries.
And everything else off the pitch as well, that sort of way.
United won't be in the Champions League next season. It's big shoe.
Well, at the rate we started the first 4 games, I'd agree with Jesus, but it's one of those, you never know what's going to happen over the course of a season. We could go on a run after Christmas and stay up there, but you
went on a run last year after a bad start.
Exactly. Exactly. After the post-World Cup, we looked unstoppable, and Rashford was back in form and stuff like that. At this moment of time, after 4 games, Aces, like I said, I'd agree with that. But we just have to wait and see what happens.
Plus, you're potentially looking at top 5 this year as well with the coefficient.
Yeah.
Morrison, United won't miss Sancho anyway. They're not going to miss him if they're not going to play him. So, seen a good few new documentary books on sale, and he's very good on football. Morris is in. Managers do get sacked unless your name is Stephen Kenny. Yeah, do you know something? It was interesting the point that they made last night on the panel as well, where they turned around and said, if Stephen Kenny wasn't an Irish manager who had, who had managed in the League of Ireland and all that kind of stuff, if it was a foreign manager, he would have easily been sacked by now. But I think the real key issue on this decision, I really think it's down to finances. I think if the FAI were flush with money, this would have happened ages ago. I really do. I just think it would have happened. I don't think they would have stuck with him. I mean, it is true what they're saying. He is being afforded a crazy amount of additional time considering the results and all that kind of stuff.
Well, I do think, like you said, if the FAI had the finance there, I think he would have been gone in February.
Yeah. Keith's in. Niall, can you see Liverpool winning the Premier League or Champions League again before he leaves? I'm absolutely loving Szoboszlai at the moment. Yeah, he looks like a cracking swing. Scored a cracking goal there last week as well. What a free kick. He just, even when you look at his social media, it's like when he signs for someone, and I have to say it, and even I know Goldbridge was talking about it on his football show as well. He was saying the job that Klopp has done in bringing in that midfield and seamlessly get it running and working, it's phenomenal. That most clubs will take a lot longer than that to make it work. So it's unbelievable. I'm not too sure. I think the problem that we have, Keith, at the moment is every time we go into a transfer window, we just fall a player or two short. If you look at this one, we redid our whole midfield, but like 10 players exited the building and 4 or 5 came in, whatever it was. And I just don't think it's enough. I just don't think we go that extra step to give Klopp the chance to be able to compete the way we need him to compete. And those kind of miracles that he pulls off with players and stuff like that, they only happen maybe once or twice in a lifetime, you know what I mean? So I don't think, if you look at it, I think it'd be very, very difficult to see it happening. And I also think when he does look back on his career at Liverpool and the trophies that he accumulated, I think there'll be somewhat a sense of pride there, but also a sense of it could have been so much more. An opportunity missed, I think. Because I think if you look at it on the face of it, I think Liverpool should have way more silverware than they did if he had been back fully. I think we just fell short at times. And it's those moments. It's those moments where you draw with Spurs, or you drop points to an Aston Villa and stuff like that. It's not necessarily our head-to-heads with the top 6 and stuff like that. Where we fall short is, we get an injury, a Kanate goes out, or a Van Dijk goes out, or a Fabinho in the past, or whatever it is, or a Firmino, or whatever it is, and we just don't have the quality to sit back in there, and that's the difference between getting over the line. Plus our bench for years has never had the quality to come on to match the starting 11. And the starting 11 had to play so much that they were exhausted by the end of the season and stuff like that. And when we do go to sub them on, like, no disrespect to Harvey Elliott, he's a young lad and stuff like that, and he's doing well there and stuff like that. But if you're taking off Mo Salah and you're bringing on Harvey Elliott, it's a different kettle of fish and stuff like that. You know what I mean? And I think City have set the benchmark for this, where you take off a KDB and you bring on a Bernardo Silva, or you take off a Haaland and you bring on a Julian Alvarez, or you take
Phil
off
Foden on the bench and everything.
Absolutely, and stuff like that. And I think that's where teams have to get to if you really want to be competitive. Now, could it happen? Absolutely could. Other teams get injured. Haaland could get injured. Anything could happen. Look at United, decimated with injuries at the moment, so they're struggling a little bit. It depends how long they struggle for and how much that gap is and stuff like that. But if you look at it on the face of it, if everything is being equal and they have their team and we have our team and all that kind of stuff, I think City will run away with the league. I can't see anyone doing that for them, and I wouldn't be surprised, even looking at the Champions League this season. They've had a nice tidy draw there as well, and they could do big things in the Champions League again. They've had a taste of it, and they won't necessarily want to give it up. And you can look at what they did. I mean, look at who they lost, and then look at what they bring in. You know what I mean? They go out, they lose Gundogan, they bring in Kovacic, they bring in Josko Vardiol, they bring in top players and stuff like that. You know what I mean? There's no messing about. And a lot of those players were paid for by really good deals with their academy players, where they were selling 5, 6, 7 academy players and getting 20 million plus for them. Madness, you know what I mean? And then this is how difficult it is then for us to compete. You look at United sending Iqbal, was it, off the Utrecht for like $1 million?
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Zidane Iqbal, isn't it? And like you look at, if that's Man City are getting 20 million for that boy, whereas United are getting $1 million, and that's where the gulf is between us and City and all that kind of thing. It's different gravy the way they do stuff. And look, we'll see what comes out of the charges as well and what happens there. That all has to unfold as well. God knows what might happen there, but on the face of it, from a footballing point of view, and when it will unfold, or if it will unfold.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, no, I think it'll be tough. I think we just had. I think that run we had where we won the Premier League and the Champions League was just an unbelievable time for Liverpool. Just everything came together, everything lined up at the right time and stuff like that. And I think even we seen it with the quad season where we tried to do, and we ended up with the 2 domestic cups. That's where we fell short. If you look at the Premier League, the run in there, the points that we dropped, that draw, I think it was against Spurs and stuff like that, and all cost us. And right down to the last day, we were 15 minutes from winning the league. And I think if we had won the league, I think we would have won the Champions League as well. That way,
the confidence, yeah, absolutely.
And it's just that, then we went into that Champions League final. Remember, Thiago was injured and Fabinho were both injured, and they had to play. They took painkiller shots before the game and all and stuff like that. And also,
fine margins, fine margins.
Absolutely. The FAI should get a load off RTE to sack him.
Where's Dermot Desmond?
Yeah, absolutely. Round's in. He'll be unreal for us. Yeah, absolutely.
And that's mad coming from Rowan because he only usually likes Brazilians.
There you go. Keats in. I would argue we would possibly have the best attacking depth out of the top 6. Yeah, you there's definitely an argument for it. The problem that you have with the depth of the attacking thing is, have we done enough in midfield and have we got enough cover? And at the back, look at already here we are 4 games into the season and we're starting a back line with Joe Gomez and Joel Matip. And that in itself is where the problem lies. And don't get me wrong, the 2 boys came in, they did a decent job in that last game and stuff like that. But that's really where the problem lies. If you're losing Virgil van Dijk and Kanate and you're bringing in Joe Gomez and Joel Matip, then that tells its own story. Whereas you have, like, maybe they lose the boy Ruben Diaz at the back, and who did they bring on? Just Vardiol or Nathan Ake or Kanji, you know, the list is just endless, you know what I mean? Kyle Walker, you know, that's the difference. They have those options right across the board.
But the way you are playing at the minute goes pressing high up the pitch, you have the players to do it, and it kind of takes a bit of pressure off the lads that you've just mentioned as well, you know?
Yeah. I just wonder, because some of them are so new in the door and all, can we sustain it for the whole season? That's the thing.
It's always
there
tough.
Will definitely be a drop off, you know, like what happens when Mo Salah goes off to the AFCON now for 5 or 6 weeks. Yeah. You know what I mean? Then what happens then? They take Szoboszlai out of midfield. They probably put him out there on the right. And then that takes the balance out of that midfield that's there. Who's going to fill his void? Then you're bringing in a Harvey Elliott or a Curtis Jones, and that's where you get your drop off. And that's ultimately where you'll drop your points because you didn't do what you should have done. You know what I mean? So, although we brought in Gravenberch, so it'll be interesting to see what way he plays him and stuff like that. So, Ace was Portugal decent. 6, Luxembourg 0. Yeah, the Luxembourg, they beat us, didn't they? Brian Morrissey's in. How are you, Brian? Good to see you, my friend. Thanks for joining us. Finally, I wanted to get your thoughts. 2 things. Man City want Evan Ferguson. No surprise. Most clubs do.
Yeah, there's going to be talk like this. Like I said to you, Eddie, who I know well, was talking to Evan's dad there a few weeks ago about the links with some of the clubs, but he's happy with Brighton. And listen, Brighton are playing some really good stuff at the minute, and I think he's only 18. I think stay there, develop as a player, and then move on to a bigger club. But at the moment, he'd be mad to leave Brighton. Genuinely think he'd be mad to. It doesn't matter if it's City or Barcelona or Real Madrid, whoever it is. I just think he'd be mad to leave Brighton at this moment in time.
Yeah, I think you'll probably see him for maybe another 2 seasons at Brighton, and then I think when Haaland gets that itch to go to Real Madrid or Barcelona or whatever it is, then Haaland will go and Evan will come in maybe into Man City. That's what I could see.
He's an ideal replacement for him. He scores all types of goals. Seeing him up front in person, and he's lethal. And like I said to you last week, when he was, I think he was maybe about 13 or 14. You want to see the size of him and the build of him, you know.
Yeah.
So
the scary thing would be if they had both of them and Julian Alvarez. Now that would be scary.
Yeah. It'd be interesting to see how Haaland and him would play together up top. That'd be very interesting. But definitely develop at Brighton for the next few seasons. Yeah, Brighton are playing some really good stuff. There's some really quality players there. I know they lost a good few players, and people were thinking they won't be the same team they have been, but they're proving us wrong in the first few games that I've seen them.
Yeah, we'll finish out with this one. This Rubiales thing, the president of the Spanish Federation has resigned.
Finally giving in.
Apparently, he did an interview with Piers Morgan, which kind of tells the tale. I have to say, once you do that, it kind of tells the tale. Gone. But apparently, what's come out is that he has resigned on this. What was your thoughts on it? We heard the mother went on hunger strike and locked herself into a church and all sorts of things and stuff like that and all that.
Well, before that, hopefully
we know how a mother's love for her son is undying and stuff like that. Hopefully, she's having a nice feed tonight. Anyway, hopefully she can come off that.
Hopefully, we might see Piers Morgan sit down with Jadon Sancho during the week or something like that. But yeah, it's been a mad story, and then you heard that the players were watching the videos and laughing about and stuff like that. So, but listen, the pressure obviously got to him, and he had to go. Some of the images that we seen, like. It's crazy. Like it won still in the picture, and that's it. It's his career over. Like, you know.
And the thing about it is, it wasn't just necessarily that; it was reputation preceded itself. That there was a number of say allegations made and incidents made and stuff like that, and that kind of led to it all festering to this.
Yeah.
But you'd have to wonder a guy in that kind of position and in that type of bread and in that type of powerful position. Why would you? What possessed you in any moment to think that was just going to fly? You know, it was crazy. You know,
and I just want to say as well to the mother, if you're off hunger strike, go to Longdus in Kilkenny. They do a lovely breakfast roll down there.
Yeah, and it's not badly priced either.
Yeah, from
what I heard from last week's show, anyway.
Exactly.
Well, listen, pleasure having you on as always. We will be back. I think Wednesday I'll be back with a pro wrestling show. Darren might be on that. Plenty to talk about. Significant Raw tonight, Marky. It's the last Raw of the McMahon era.
No way. Are they selling up?
Now the Endeavor deal kicks in tomorrow. You know the UFC Endeavor deal where they're partnering up. So Endeavor take over the reins at WWE tomorrow, and McMahon will be still in there, I think, in an advisory role. But this will be the last Raw tonight of the McMahon era. What a run it's been on, stuff like that. Should be crazy.
Can I just say as well, talking of wrestling, you know me, I used to be a mad wrestling fan, but I haven't watched it in donkey's years now. But I flicked on your Bray Wyatt tribute video the other day. Fair play to you, because it was excellent, man. Fair play to you.
It's tough, isn't it? It's tough.
Oh no, but listen, man, raw emotion. It was I know it's simple. It was a great watch. I know obviously the subject matter was tough, but fair play to you for getting through it. It was I was sitting there watching it. And like I haven't I like listen to Jim Cornette's podcast to hear the stories of all the old school things, but he does review stuff and all, and he wasn't a fan of Bray Wyatt as like, you know, whatever, but he said his mind was just unbelievable, like, you know.
I think it kind of hit me more because he was a young father with kids and stuff like that. It was more that than it was the wrestling. Kind of choked me up a bit, you know, being a dad with kids and stuff like that, and the thoughts of happening and leaving behind would be it'd be a killer, even though you kind of be gone and stuff like that and all, you know. But last week for you was a bad week for wrestling. Because Gunther broke the IC record and knocked the Honky Tonk Man off the perch.
No way.
He now holds the record for the IC belt. Yeah,
no way. Remember he dressed up. Remember we went to the RDS and I dressed up as him, and I had the white Intercontinental belt on me. And
I have the picture over there of the Legion. Me as the animal out of the Legion of Doom.
That was class, wasn't it? Remember we went down.
Ray Rooney and all,
When would that have been? 2003 or 4?
2005. 2005.
Was it 5?
Yeah, summer batch 2005. Yeah, Brian's in third Irish player to go for over 100 million in the Prem. Rice, Grealish, and Ferguson. Yeah. You're playing your card there, Brian. All right. If only that had been the case. Can you imagine how good we would have been last night if we had Rice and Grealish?
Definitely, 100%.
Like it's amazing what could have happened.
And they're the type of players we need with Evan up front, someone that can put their foot on the ball in midfield and play football, you know, because we seriously lack that.
Yeah, Brian, the Honky Tonk Man was some crack. Yeah, he was absolutely legend.
I must bring it down for next week. I still have his figure upstairs in the attic somewhere. Brilliant really stuff. Was. The blue jumpsuit on him.
Bellingham qualifies too. Listen, I'm sure we could go back, Brian. We could go back in many. Go on to that one. What's that? The thing where they look back on the websites and they go back through your whole family tree and stuff.
Oh
like
that.
We can afford an Irish great granny for any lad playing football in the UK at the moment. You know, I mean, absolutely. Mark, what did I say to you last night? Why isn't someone on the phone to Harvey Barnes? Get on to Harvey Barnes now and tell him you'll make him a legend in a green shirt.
Yeah.
But just Stephen Kenny don't make the call. That's the only thing.
No,
Get someone to make the call. If Carsley's making the call, we might be able to convince him or someone like that.
So that's what. Do you ever hear that story of Dean Windass when he was playing? He was banging in goals for Bradford, and he met Mick McCarthy at the end of the season awards. And Mick had him ring his dad up to see if he had any Irish grandparents because he wanted him to sign up. And in fairness, Windass was like, "Yeah, there must be someone," because he wanted to come and play for us, like, because he wasn't getting a look in with England or anything like that. But
it's more of that we need to do. It's more of that we need to do. They're out there. We just need to be better at what we do. To be honest. Well, yeah, absolutely pleasure. Another show. So yeah, Wednesday I'll be back with a pro wrestling update. We'll go through news and stuff like that. Plenty coming out and all. Then Thursday I'll be back with Thursday Tier Talk as the Prem is back. Friday I'll be doing a preview for the Wolves show on the Shankly Sessions. Saturday I'll probably give you a match reaction in the afternoon because we're the early game at 12:30 away at Wolves.
The dreaded 12:30 game.
Don't say that. Hopefully it's dreaded for Wolves because we haven't been too good at Molyneux recently. So we need to go out there.
Neither they.
Brian is saying Charlton built an error on it, the granny rule.
Absolutely, yeah.
100%. Until next time, folks, if you could like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification. You are doing stellar work out there at the moment with the views and the subs and all that kind of stuff. Really appreciate it. I hope you're enjoying the shorts. They're always just a bit of fun, but make sure you give your reaction to them as well. Harry Maguire definitely should be playing for Man United in defence. That's all I'll say on that. But until next time, folks, absolute pleasure, and we'll talk to you again real soon. Cheers. Thanks, guys.
Cheers, lads.